March 15th, 44 BC. 60 Roman senators murdered Julius Caesar. They believed killing one man would save the Republic. Instead, it destroyed the Republic forever. And the men who raised the daggers? They expected to be remembered as heroes. They weren't. Within 3 years, all 60 were dead. This is the true story of Caesar's assassination, and what happened to the men who killed him. By 44 BC, Julius Caesar had become the most powerful man in Rome. He had conquered Gaul, defeated his rivals in civil war, and declared himself dictator for life. To many senators, this was unacceptable. Rome had been a republic for nearly 5 centuries. The idea of one man holding absolute power was seen as tyranny, and a group of senators decided something had to be done. The conspiracy was led by 2 men, Marcus Brutus, a man Caesar trusted like a son, and Gaius Cassius Longinus, a seasoned military commander. Together, they recruited around 60 senators. They called themselves the Liberatores, the Liberators. They weren't planning a murder in their own eyes. They were saving Rome from a tyrant. But the real story isn't just how Caesar died. It's what happened to every single man who killed him. Caesar was summoned to a Senate meeting at the theater of Pompey. He had been warned. A soothsayer told him to beware the Ides of March. His wife Calpurnia had nightmares and begged him not to go. But Caesar ignored the warnings. He entered the Senate chamber that morning, unarmed, unguarded. But here's the haunting part of this story. Caesar didn't just ignore one warning, he ignored multiple signs that death was waiting for him. Weeks before the Ides of March, a soothsayer had stopped him in the street. The man looked Caesar in the eye and said, "Beware the Ides of March." Caesar dismissed him as a madman. The night before his assassination, his wife Calpurnia woke up screaming. She had dreamed of Caesar's statue pouring blood like a fountain. She begged him, pleaded with him, not to go to the Senate. That morning, Roman priests performed a ritual sacrifice to read the omens. When they cut open the animal, they found something alarming. It had no heart. In Roman religion, this was the worst possible sign, a warning of immediate death. Even as Caesar walked toward the theater of Pompey, the same soothsayer appeared in the crowd. Caesar smirked and said, "The Ides of March have come." The soothsayer replied, "Yes, but they have not yet gone." Hours later, Caesar was dead. If he had listened to even one of these warnings, the conspiracy might have fallen apart. He might have lived. The Republic might have survived. But Caesar believed he was untouchable, and that belief killed him. A conspirator approached Caesar with a petition. As Caesar leaned forward to read it, the signal was given. Publius Servilius Casca struck the first blow from behind. The dagger hit Caesar's neck. Caesar fought back. He grabbed Casca's arm and stabbed him with his writing stylus. But then the others closed in. Daggers came from every direction. Caesar was struck 23 times. Blood soaked his toga. He tried to defend himself until he saw one face: Brutus, the man he had treated like a son. According to historian Suetonius, Caesar said, "Et tu, Bruti? You too, Brutus?" Then he stopped fighting. He pulled his toga over his head and collapsed at the base of Pompey's statue. The Liberatores stood in the blood-soaked Senate chamber. They raised their daggers and marched into the streets of Rome. They shouted that tyranny had been destroyed, that liberty had been restored. They expected cheers, statues, gratitude. They got none of it. But of all 60 conspirators, one man's betrayal cut the deepest: Marcus Brutus. Caesar had loved Brutus like a son, and there's a reason why. Many Roman historians believed Brutus actually was Caesar's biological son, the result of a long affair between Caesar and Brutus's mother, Servilia. Whether true or not, Caesar treated him that way. Years earlier, during the Civil War, Brutus had fought against Caesar. When Caesar won, he could have executed Brutus. Instead, he pardoned him, promoted him, gave him power and responsibility. Caesar's closest friends warned him not to trust Brutus. But Caesar refused to believe Brutus would ever betray him. And that's what made the murder so personal. When Caesar saw Brutus among the killers, it wasn't just shock. It was heartbreak. The man he loved had chosen to destroy him. The Roman people did not celebrate. They were shocked, angry, afraid. Julius Caesar had been extremely popular with ordinary citizens. He had distributed land to veterans, provided grain to the poor, brought wealth and glory to Rome through his conquests. The Senate saw a tyrant, but the people saw a leader who had improved their lives. Mark Antony, Caesar's closest ally, seized control of the situation. At Caesar's funeral, he gave a speech that changed everything. He held up Caesar's blood-stained toga, pointed to each knife wound, and read Caesar's will aloud, which left substantial money and property to the Roman people. The crowd erupted. Their grief turned to rage. Mobs flooded the streets searching for the conspirators. The liberatories were forced to flee Rome. But running away wasn't enough, because Caesar had left behind an heir. His 18-year-old adopted son, Gaius Octavius, later known as Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. Octavian formed an alliance with Mark Antony and another general, Lepidus. They called it the Second Triumvirate. And they had one mission: hunt down and destroy every man involved in Caesar's murder. But here's what makes this story even more remarkable. The man who would hunt down all 60 conspirators wasn't a battle-hardened general. He was an 18-year-old boy. When Caesar was murdered, Octavian was studying in Greece. He was sickly, inexperienced, and had never commanded an army. Mark Antony openly mocked him, calling him boy and dismissing his claim to Caesar's legacy. The conspirators didn't even consider him a threat. That was their second fatal mistake. Because Octavian proved to be more ruthless, more cunning, and more patient than any of them could have imagined. He allied with enemies when it benefited him, betrayed those same allies when the time was right, and methodically checked off every name on his list. The boy they had dismissed would become the most powerful man in Roman history. But the real story begins here. The Triumvirate launched a campaign of political purges called the proscriptions. Thousands were executed, their property confiscated. The conspirators tried to raise armies in the eastern provinces, but they were outmatched. The decisive moment came in 42 BC, just 2 years after Caesar's death. At the Battle of Philippi in northern Greece, Brutus and Cassius commanded forces against Octavian and Mark Antony. The battle was brutal. Cassius was defeated first. Believing all was lost, he couldn't face capture. He ordered his freedmen to kill him with the same sword he had used on Caesar. When Brutus heard of Cassius's death, he knew it was over. After losing the second engagement, Brutus fled into the mountains with a few loyal men. Surrounded and with no escape, he convinced one of his companions to hold a sword steady. Then he ran onto it. His final words revealed everything. Wretched virtue, you were nothing but a word. The man who had killed Caesar, believing he was acting virtuously, died knowing he had accomplished nothing. But the deaths didn't stop with Brutus and Cassius. Decimus Brutus, one of Caesar's former generals, was captured while fleeing to Macedonia, executed. Trebonius, who had distracted Mark Antony outside the Senate, was hunted down, tortured, and beheaded. His head was reportedly kicked around like a ball by soldiers. Tullius Cimber, killed in battle. Casca, who struck the first blow against Caesar, committed suicide. Pontius Aquila died fighting Antony's forces. Some conspirators fled to the farthest corners of the Roman world. Egypt, Asia Minor, Greece. It didn't matter. Octavian's network of agents and loyal commanders tracked them down. Within 3 years of Caesar's assassination, every single one of the 60 liberatories was dead. Not one died peacefully. Not one was honored. Not one became the hero they expected to be. But the deepest irony of this story isn't just that they failed, it's that they created exactly what they were trying to prevent. Caesar never formally called himself king. He never established a dynasty. He never created a system where one family would rule Rome forever. The conspirators killed him because they feared he might, and in doing so, they guaranteed it would happen. Because the civil war that followed Caesar's death proved something crucial. Rome could no longer function as a republic. It was too large, too diverse, too wealthy, too divided. The old system of competing senators and annual elections couldn't hold it together anymore. Rome needed a single ruler with absolute authority. So Octavian became Augustus, the first in a line of emperors that would rule Rome for 5 centuries. Emperors with far more power than Caesar ever held. Emperors who were worshipped as living gods. Emperors whose word was absolute law. The liberatores thought they were preventing one-man rule. Instead, they made it permanent. They killed one dictator and created an empire of emperors. 60 men killed Caesar to save the Republic. The Republic collapsed anyway. They ignored the warnings. They betrayed the man who trusted them. They underestimated an 18-year-old heir. And they created the very tyranny they feared. Every single one of them paid for it. Not with glory, but with death. And Rome? Rome became an empire that would dominate the world for centuries. All because of one fatal mistake.